Today we are going to plant a garden, and the garden can have a lot of symbolism to marriage. So come along with us today as we plant our garden.
Let's get started.
Let's look at what we have here to plant. We have some bell peppers, and you can see that they're already starting to bud here a little bit. And then we have 2 bell peppers. And then we also have some tomatoes, and you can see like these tomatoes are starting to flower. So it is important that we get them in the ground, so in that way the roots can really spread and get where they need to be able to grow properly. And then we also have some strawberries. We're going to go ahead and keep these strawberries in the pot because this is the one where like they're already potted, so we don't need to do anything more with them. But as you can see, like they are starting to flower and they will be growing and budding soon. And we're just going to go ahead and put them in these metal tins today. So it's going to kind of symbolize our raised garden bed. So my husband is going to grab the soil, and I guess you can kind of say, like in some parts of marriage, this kind of represents the heavy lifting. And sometimes, you know, one might be doing more heavy lifting than the other, and that is okay. But, you know, you have to really capitalize on your strengths. So as we get ready to open this up, we're going to go ahead and get these poured into the bin. And as you can see, we do have some helpers with us today as we plant our flower bed.
So it's like the covenant in the marriage. So you got to start a strong foundation.
Right.
You know, start from the bottom up and just go from there.
Yeah, and you want to make sure that you're, you know, planting on good soil.
Yeah.
So we make sure we got the right soil for our flowers. But it's the same thing with your marriage, you know. You want to make sure that you're setting the right foundation, making sure that you guys value the same things.
Best foot forward.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Pray about it. Gonna be some rough times, but always pray about it.
Yeah.
Avoid distractions too.
Next, as we prepare the ground, you know, we're gonna have to do some digging. And sometimes you have to dig deeper for other plants or just dig deep in general. So that's kind of the same with marriage. You know, if you have any blockage with communication, or, you know, there's some issues that are going on, you know, maybe that you need to dig deep to find out what truly is the root of the problem. So I'm just going to go ahead and get ready to prepare our first plant. But again, as you can see, if you look inside here, you can see, you know, we're really digging deep. So are there things that, you know, that maybe you need to dig deep within yourself to figure out? You know, maybe it's not an issue with your spouse, maybe it's an issue with you, but you just need to dig deep, you know, to kind of find out what the root of the problem is. So this one is our green bell pepper. Super excited about that because we eat a lot of peppers in our household. So we're hoping to get a really good harvest out of these, and you can kind of see that they're already starting to bud again, like I showed earlier. So, you know, hopefully we get some really good green ones. I'm just going to kind of massage the bottom out here and go from there. We got to see what's going on with our kids over there too. So let's see. Let's go ahead and get this face, and then we're just going to pat it down there here. Keep going. So similar in marriage too, you know, you want to make sure you're planting on good soil. Okay, you can try next, sweetie. Because, you know, some of the habits that you have could also implant into your children's life as well. You know, your kids are watching you, and you want to make sure that you're teaching them the right skills that they'll need in life as well. All right, good job, girls. All right, are you guys ready? Okay, who wants to pull out the plant?
Me.
Okay, both of you guys can do it together. Okay, take it from the stem. I'm going to loosen it up here. Gentle, there we go. Okay, and then we're going to loosen the bottom a little bit. Okay, now go ahead and put it in the ground. Okay, and then we're going to hold it up, and then we're going to take the shovel. Okay, you take the shovel. Okay, you can. Okay, put the dirt over. Put the dirt over. Here, your turn. Good job. We're taking turns. Good job, yes.
So you got to have faith, because you ain't gonna always see what's going on. So just keep the faith and just stay, you know, stay loyal.
You don't always know what's going on at the bottom, but you have to have faith that, you know, the roots are really planted, and
everything's going to prosper.
Everything is going to prosper. So, you know, at the top it might not seem like anything's moving, but just know at the bottom, you know, the roots are really doing its work, and you just have to keep the faith and just believe that God is doing what he needs to do, and in due season, you know, everything will turn out the way that it's supposed to, and you're going to have that fruit that is blossoming off of the plants because of what you sowed into the ground and what you've done. So just keep the faith and know that God is working, and even though you can't see it at the top always, just know that it's something is always going on, because you have planted on a solid foundation and you have done the work that needs to be done to ensure that, you know, you are prospering and flourishing.
Tell them, wifey. Tell them.
All right. So on this side, I think the girls are ready to go ahead and plant these tomatoes. So let's go ahead and do the tomatoes on this side. Okay. So just with planting too, let's just talk about weather. You know, sometimes you're going to have great weather and where it rains and it helps them to grow. Other times you're going to have dry seasons where it's too dry and not watering. You know, the weather can always be changing. Sometimes it's not always consistent, but that's just the same too. You know, sometimes in your marriage you are having a great season, and other times, you know, you're kind of going through a rough patch. But you know, just again, practicing those same foundations, those skills, or like things that you guys work on together in your marriage, or what you're, you know, you value and are doing, just make sure that you're staying consistent, because that is what is going to get you guys through, you know, some of those rough seasons in life. But just know that it happens in every marriage. Biggest things too about rough seasons, or just anything in general, like if you want your spouse to change, or you have a conversation, you know, to say like, hey, like, these are some of the things that I wish that could change in a marriage. Like that person who is receiving that feedback, making sure that you're open to that feedback and not to get, you know, discouraged or disappointed. It's only going to help your marriage. So I think, you know, you still want to have that open line of communication that allows your spouse to have that safe space to say like, hey, like, these are some of the things that I would like to change. And then you as the receiver being open to that and listening to what they have to say to try to make those changes. We are going to put this over the tomato plant because we want to make sure when it, you know, when it grows some more, when it starts to bloom, you know, or we get our tomatoes, that it's going in an upright position. So I do like to put these on here. Similar to with marriage, like you can kind of think of this as boundaries. Like in marriage, you want to have boundaries, and it's important that you and your spouse discuss those boundaries, so then that way you both are on the same page. I think boundaries are really important in marriage because, you know, not everyone should have access to what you and your spouse have. And you want to make sure that you're protecting your marriage and discussing boundaries and coming up with boundaries. And, you know, boundaries can change over time or as you know, continue in your marriage. You know, I really think that this represents boundaries in your marriage, and boundaries are important. So again, we'll put these up so then that way our tomato can grow straight up, and then also kind of just helps protect the plant itself and make sure that it's growing correctly. So we also have this little tomato plant, and as you can see, it's kind of leaning over, is just not doing what it needs to be doing. So we really need to get this in a bigger garden bed and better soil to revive this plant. So that might be the same with you. You know, maybe you need to change some of your habits. Maybe you need to work on your foundation, just to try to salvage your relationship. So it could be close, you know, look at it, the root and stuff, but it still can be saved, and that is what we're going to do today. Similar to your marriage, you want to make sure that you put in all the effort, so when you look back, you know, you have no regrets about the decision that you made in regards to your marriage. So we're going to go ahead and get this planted in some solid ground here, in a new space, in a new environment, you know. So like, who are you surrounded by? What other couples are you surrounded by? Are you surrounded by the right people? Surrounded by others who have strong marriages, you know, so that you can have the right soil, the right roots, the right people pouring into you. You know, this one's either kind of off by itself or has been around the wrong people. So, you know, you need to change your environment, change the surroundings. So then that way your marriage can flourish as well. So just kind of want to talk about these two plants again that we already have, you know, the wires around it. So we know, if we're talking about marriage here, you know, we know that these are strong marriages if we're, you know, using that metaphor there. The challenge, yes, I would have today for those that have a strong marriage, who have been married for many years, you know, find some other couple, you know, that's maybe a younger couple. You know, they don't have to be going through anything, you know, but maybe you just want to pour into them and just say that, hey, like, here are some things that we have learned along the way that we just want to share and teach you, so then that way that you don't have, you know, the same issues or the same struggles that we have. And you know what, I have these flowers, I have this fruit where I can show you, you know, that, hey, we can show that ourselves prosperous and fruitful, because we can show you the fruit that are hanging from our vines or our, you know, our trees, to be able to show you the way. Yes, we've been to this place, you know, where we were withered and where, you know, we thought that we were going to, you know, lose it all. We thought that we weren't going to make it. But guess what? This is what we did. We planted ourselves on solid soil. We weathered the storm, and we ensured that we were doing the right things that were needed to be done. So I guess that's my challenge for you guys today. For those older couples that have been married, have been through some things, find some others to pour into. And just think about that, you know, when you're eating your tomato next time. Like, who have you poured into to ensure that their growth is, that you have, you know, helped someone else with their growth. So here is our tomatoes and our bell peppers. So this is our garden, so stick with us. You know, it is a flower, it is a raised bed, it is mid-June, but you know what, stick with us, and we can show you, we'll give you updates about, you know, our plants and how they're growing over the next few weeks here. All right, bye for now.